Welcome to part 3 of this 5-part series where I am reflecting on my video where I was in the pits after my ADHD diagnosis. This video I'm going to be focusing on a biggie, a big thing that changed things for me, which is quitting my job. When my life is feeling good and I'm doing things that I enjoy and I feel like I'm fulfilled and nourished, the shame doesn't spiral. It's like there, but it's like, okay, we're working on that, we'll park that. So this is key, right? And I feel like I've held off long enough, and I was actually waiting for the right moment to talk about what's changed. And I'm going to take it as this one, otherwise we might not get there. Part of the reason why I felt this bad is because I was unhappy at work. If you watched the interview that I did with Jazz Marfo about our careers and how ADHD has shaped them, we talk about this. What is really common in people with ADHD is that when they are in a job or a situation that their heart is no longer in anymore, that they don't feel fulfilled or excited by, or feel like they're being effective in, it's like a light switch goes off. And I think if I am honest with myself, I had known that about my job since January. So from January to July, I'd just been trying to tread the water, do the thing, get it done, but trying to plan my escape route and what I was going to do next, but couldn't, because the whole situation was just making me feel worse and worse and worse. Now, this is also partly why I felt so bad. What I struggled with this whole time is that there was nothing objectively bad about my job. In fact, there was many things that were objectively good about my job. It was a good company, it was a good team, I liked the people, I liked my manager, I got paid well, I got good benefits. Like, it ticked all the boxes of what you would want in a job, right? So then when I'm struggling with it and I'm feeling unfulfilled and I don't want to get up in the morning, the inner critic and the voice that represents everything that we've ever been taught about what we should want in a job is like, you're a fucking idiot. Why? Like, you're an idiot. What more could you possibly want? And all that does is to serve making the problem worse, because I refused to accept the reality, which was that I wanted out. And part of that was because, as I explain here, I knew that I wanted to go self-employed and work for myself again. I did it before for 2 years, but it was a huge contributor to why I sought an ADHD diagnosis, because I felt like I'd failed at it. Like, I couldn't do it. It didn't work. And so I had this really negative lens that, like, even the thing that I want to do and think that I would be good at, I can't have. So I'm paralyzed in this in-between. I can't remember the original thing that made me think about this or where I was going with it. Fulfilled and nourished. Here's what happened that changed everything for me, okay? I took 2 weeks off work, unpaid, and again had to negotiate myself with that. And can we afford it? And because that's the whole pressure, isn't it, right? Money's a massive thing on all of this. If everything was free, we didn't have to pay to live, it wouldn't be an issue. But it was like this pressure of like, okay, is that going to be okay? Took 2 weeks off. Without the pressure of going to work, I was fine. I felt amazing. I felt great. Doing my little creative projects, doing what I wanted to do. I had 2 conversations with 2 old colleagues and friends that honestly just changed everything for me, because I was speaking to people that understood me and that understood my backstory, and they understood where I'd come from and what I was good at, and that also understood and had a inclination towards like non-conventional paths, if you even want to put it that way, right? Like that could see possibilities for me and see them as acceptable and allowed and okay. And it completely just like sparked this thing in me where I was like, oh my goodness, I can do this. Like, this is possible. And then I went back to work and I resigned with 2 months' notice. I think the thing that really shifted it for me in that scenario is, number one, things had got so bad in how I was feeling that I started to go, something needs to change here. Something needs to change. We cannot continue with how bad I'm feeling when, let's face it, and I will say this from a place of privilege, and I know not everybody is in this position, so I feel uncomfortable saying it, but like, I could afford to miss work for a couple of months if I had to. Like, I could afford to take the risk. But my head wouldn't let me, because it was like the worst thing in the world, disaster, that I would put us in a difficult financial situation. And as it so happened, that didn't need to be the case. So things had got so bad that, like, I had to make a change. And I actually think this is one of the best qualities of being a person with ADHD. I have such low tolerance for being in situations that I don't want to be in. I call it low tolerance. Maybe you want to call it like emotional attunement, right? Because I'd been in that situation for 6 months and it had become unbearable within me, in that, like, I didn't want to be there, you know, everything I've already explained. But there are people, I think, without ADHD that could put up with that for a year, 5 years, 10 years, and never feel bad enough to make an actual change, but be living on this low level of just like undercurrent of unhappiness, right? So one thing I will say that I think is an absolute bonus or positive in ADHD is that it's really, really hard to deal with the, you know what this is. Volatile's not the word. And ups and downs isn't the word. The intensity, I guess, in which we can't stand to be in places we don't want to be in. Is that it? Let's say lack of tolerance to put up with situations or be in places that we just don't feel like are working for us can feel really unsettling and like all over the place. But I think the ticket is getting good at dealing with that rather than trying to force yourself to just stay in situations. It doesn't work. Doesn't work. Right, I apologise. I feel like I'm waffling now. And what was the other thing? Oh my goodness me. Oh, chaos. I think we've gone a bit too free flow. There's like an unmasking, I guess. I'm no longer going to put myself in situations that don't work for me anymore. I'm no longer going to force myself to do things that don't work for me anymore. But in that, you have to reconcile the part of you that doesn't want to let go of being who you think you should be and who you've learned that you should be. I'll tell you anything, and let's face it, I'm going to tell you many more things, but let go of those pieces of what you think you should be, because